Now we bring in Dan Orlovsky, a 12-year NFL vet. You see him on ESPN as an analyst for college football and NFL, but you probably saw him on social media this week. He went viral for an amazing and kind of creepy dog barking impersonation. Dan, first of all, we got to start. Can we hear it?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you started this in this capacity. I don't know how. I often get asked, how did you figure you had this quote unquote talent out? I have no idea, but this is it. We do have 2 dogs, but this is it. It goes.
Wow. Hold on.
It's great. It's great to do because, especially like outside when you're on a walk or with your family or around other dogs, because it doesn't sound like it's from close. So dogs are often like, what is going on right now? So yeah, I have no idea how I can do it. But.
Have you ever when the song "Who Let the Dogs Out" was popular? Did you ever hit that and people really thought dogs were in the room?
Oh, no doubt, absolutely. And I'm telling you, it is fascinating because I love people watching. It's fascinating to just subtly throw it into a group or again out in public and just watch people be like, what, where, and what is going on.
At first, I didn't believe it when I first saw it because Mina first posted it and I didn't believe it. Yeah. But now, I mean, we just saw you do it and we didn't even give you a heads up. So I'm a believer now. I'm a little freaked out, but I'm a believer. That's awesome.
Did you ever call any plays that were?
That wasn't that good actually. Yours. No, I never called any plays like that. Probably because I was trying to remember them with 27 words in the play call, but. I never brought it onto the football field. I was just trying to survive. To survive when I was out there.
Do you do any impressions of former teammates or coaches? Are you just good at impressions in general, or is that kind of it?
No, I'm not great at impressions. My wife makes fun of me because I often try to do like British impressions, accent-wise, and then Australian, and she'd be like, you sound the same. I'll have one-liners from ex-teammates, but nothing like an actual impression. I often say that Calvin Johnson was Steve Urkel from, you guys remember the show Family Matters? Like Calvin is the biggest dork. So we would kind of mock him in that aspect. Peyton, I can do a decent Peyton impersonation, but nothing too significant.
Let's hear Peyton.
So Peyton would come into meetings and we'd be sitting there watching meetings or watching tape. And he'd be in the meeting. He'd be like, hey, coach. And you'd be like, why is he talking like that? And I'd be like, hey, Clyde. And Clyde Christensen, who's now with the Bucs, he'd sit there and like, what, Peyton? He'd be like, hey, man, so if we get this type of front and the linebacker does this, if he scrapes over the top, Clyde, like over the top, and then the safety drops down, you see the safety drops down, what do you want me to do? And Peyton would often ask questions that he knew the coaches didn't know answers to, strictly to kind of make sure, like, hey, guys, I'm in control. And the coach would kind of Clyde would take like 5-10 seconds to figure out and be like, yeah, Clyde, you don't know the answer because I'm the only one who knows that, with that kind of Southern twang.
I got to say, I think your dog barking impersonation is a little bit better than your Peyton.
Yeah, I think it was a little closer, yeah.
Standard's high.
Standard is really high.
The bar is set high with the dog.
Yeah, Eli's easy. You just got to kind of contort your face and not say much, and then you're doing an Eli.
That's
just kind of.
Yeah.
Speaking of Eli, Peyton's brother, how much of a favorite do you think the Giants are to win it all?
I can't say they're a significant favorite. I actually like the Giants, at least a lot of their football team, candidly. I think their defense and defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, are really creative. I often say that one of the best things that you can do to a quarterback is constantly change the picture on them and try to confuse them and get guys to play slow, and they expect things to be where they are and they're not there, so to speak. So, I love their defense. I get really concerned about their offense. I think their offense schematically is stuck in 2005. It's super archaic and antiquated. They're not doing the things that you watch good offenses in the NFL, the things that they do either personnel or formation or scheme-wise. They don't do any of it. And to me, that's alarming. And you're so dependent on the talent to go perform and execute that's just not what coaching should do. It should either enhance a talent advantage or minimize a talent deficit, and the Giants don't do any of that. And I think they just tax their players too much with performance.
Dan, going to the other New York team, the Jets, there's not much to talk about there, but Zach Wilson, there was so much talk preseason, even comparing him to Aaron Rodgers, Aaron singing his praises as well. We saw 4 interceptions this past weekend. Do you see that as a structural issue, or do you still think there's a very high ceiling for Zach Wilson?
Totally high ceiling. The best way I kind of categorize this past weekend against New England is just because you can doesn't mean you should. And a lot of young quarterbacks have to go through that, especially special ones that are incredibly talented. You get in those moments like, oh, I can make that throw. Well, should you make that throw? This isn't pro day, and it's 2nd and 28, and you don't just because you can fit that ball over a drop down corner and an overlapping safety one time, the other 99 it's going to be a pick. And so I think you just have to kind of go through those and then be really difficult on yourself when it comes to looking at it and being, why did I do this? What was my thought process? Can I still stay aggressive and be special without being careless in moments? And it's a good thing only if he learns from it, only if he's willing to be critical about it. But also, you don't never want to lose your stinger. Mm-hmm. When Sam Darnold had that crazy 4 or 5 interception game against the Patriots a couple years ago, that was because he got confused a lot. That was not the case for Zach. Zach was just, I'm crazy talented and I can make these throws. And I was with Matthew Stafford when we were both a little bit younger, and I used to watch tape with Matthew, and he would make some throws and try some throws, and I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, dude, why are you throwing this ball? And be like, because I can. And he's like, and guess what? You can't. And he wasn't saying it to be a jerk, but guys that are crazy talented like that think that way. It's like, I want to make that throw because I feel like I'm the only guy who can. And you just got to kind of go on this journey of learning do and don't.
There's that old adage that the game slows down as you get more experienced. What's it like to be a quarterback in your first NFL start? Is the reason you're making those throws because you made those throws in college and you got away with it, and then you get into the pros and you realize, oh boy, these corners look a lot like receivers?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of said that week 1 with Zach. The windows in the NFL and college are probably pretty similar. They just close a lot faster, or they shrink a lot quicker in the NFL. Speed and size is a big deal. I often say playing quarterback is like, when you get into a busy road or intersection and you've got to take a left-hand turn and there's oncoming traffic and it's flying and there's just not a big window for you to do it. And so often you're hesitant and because oh my goodness, if I make the wrong timing of this turn, bad things happen. That's every play for a quarterback, so to speak. The pressure to be precise is so intense. And the more comfortable you get at that timing and that, again, to your point, seeing it slow down, the easier things get. It just takes a lot of time.
You mentioned Matthew Stafford. He's got a big game this weekend against Brady. That could be an NFC Championship preview, really, if we're looking at it. What do you like here? Does it come down to both quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it often does. In kind of the treetop version, I try to do my job a little bit differently and kind of look at the big picture of it. I think when the Rams are on offense, the Bucs defense right now has 2 big flaws for me that I did not see. They give up easy completions right now. So if Matthew goes in with the mindset of being completion driven, specifically on early downs, there's so much yard after catch against the Bucs right now because they're playing such soft coverage and they're not kind of sticky on receivers. Sean and Matthew will do a good job of that, Sean McVay. And then they're not getting any type of pressure on the quarterback. No, I'm not even talking sacks. I'm talking quarterbacks feeling pressure. That's not showing up. And with I think the big thing that's shown up in the 2 weeks for the Rams offense is the different stratosphere their play action pass, both in the pocket and out of the pocket game can go with Matthew. So you can get after a secondary that's beat up a little bit in Tampa right now, but also get completions. And I think when you look at the Bucs offense versus the Rams, and this is an overwhelming theme in the NFL this year, and I've kind of been on it for about a month now, teams are adamant, or defensively are going to be adamant not to give up big plays. We are going to see so much more too high safety. If you think of an umbrella type of defense, committing to stopping big pass plays and zone coverage and forcing teams to run the football and be patient at quarterback and play boring check down ball. I really believe that Tampa Bay, probably has to run the ball a good amount against the Rams and try to, their receivers got to be really good at blocking. They're not going to give up a ton of those man coverage big plays that the Bucs offense kind of wants. So Brady's completely ready to play disciplined ball. He did it his whole career. So in that regard, the Bucs offense should be really efficient.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the offensive line and their relationship with the quarterback because it's so important. And I think for me as a Giants fan, it's a topic that always comes up, the Giants O-line.
Yeah.
What's the relationship behind the scenes like with the quarterback and the offensive line? And do you think the offensive line should get paid as a committee and maybe incentive every week?
Yeah.
And they should they bunk together? Should they sleep at the quarterback's house? I mean, should they take maybe CIA and Secret Service training on how to protect him?
Well, any good quarterback should be taking care of their offensive lineman, right? Like they should. I've been around some quarterbacks who got their offensive lineman some sick Christmas gifts. I'm talking impressive stuff that had many of dollars
what's the
attached
best?
to it. The best one that I've probably ever been around was, I believe it was Matt Schaub got all of his offensive linemen 2 round trip first class air ticket on any airline they wanted to anywhere. So so like that's a relatively big deal.
Whoa.
So that was a good one. Do you guys know when you used to walk into a bar years ago, like the screen that you would be able to play all those games on? Kitna got all our offensive linemen one of those, and that was cool just because all those guys had kids and families, and so that was dope. He got dudes a bunch of really cool quads one year. Matthew got guys the extra large big green eggs, the grill years ago when they just came out. So there's been some really cool gifts. Any good quarterback.
Wow,
does
Giannis,
that.
are you taking notes? I can't wait to see what you're getting me for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm getting you. Yeah. Cause you make me look really good on this show because you're so good at this. So I'm getting you a lot of stuff. Let me ask you a question to piggyback on that. Do you think a guy like Tom Brady has an advantage because he's got so many bags that he could just buy his offensive line, so many cars, and then rookie guys, it's like, hey man, you got to get a big contract before I protect you.
Yeah. I mean, Brady's got a lot of commas in his paycheck, right? So like there's an unlimited funds that he can go to. I would imagine he's taking care of those guys. And also, I mean, think of the things that Tom can give his guys that aren't material value. Like, hey man, you want to come to, this type of event or whatnot, the unlimited stuff that he can bring them to. But I was fortunate. Some good guys got some good gifts, but I think the quarterback offensive line relationship is like the coolest one. My focus, and I was lucky around big round guys. Matthew Stafford was one. Peyton was one. Those guys always just wanted their offensive linemen to think that they were never above them. Like the really good quarterbacks want to make sure that their offensive line doesn't view them as a quarterback. They just want them to, you really want those guys to know, like, I don't think I'm better than you. I only exist because of you. So
I like that. Earlier in the show, I went unleashed on how great Lamar Jackson was Sunday night. You said he was the best player on the field. There are a lot of good players on that field. Most were wearing a Chiefs jersey. But what do you mean by that? And why was he so much better on Sunday night?
I don't even think it was close that he was the best player on the field. What do I mean by that is, so when you get to the point of choosing as an organization, should we pay this quarterback? I think one of the first questions you have to ask yourself is, when we do, and our funds are limited for everybody else, can we still win because of him? And that last Sunday night game was a perfect example of that. There's not a lot of guys, and I tier quarterbacks with you win because of, you win with, you win in spite of, or you lose because of. And I've felt this way about Lamar for a while, but that was one of those vintage you won because of me games. And there's just not a lot of guys on planet Earth that are in that kind of grouping. You can win a lot of games with a lot of quarterbacks, and those guys should get a lot of money because it's hard to do. There ain't a lot of quarterbacks you win games because of. They had no business winning that game. They really didn't. And it was an incredible performance by him. And I loved his mental resolve because the first quarter was bad, and he just hung in there and got the game to the fourth quarter.
I also saw you tweeted that your kids asked you if you were as fast as Kyler Murray. So my question is, how did you lie to them?
Yeah. So I was sitting there actually watching tape this morning, and one of my kids' favorite things to do is watch Top 10. And so Kyler's spin around, run to the left, find Rondale Moore was out there, and they're really getting into watching football and studying. So they turned around, they were asking like, Dad, is that what it looked like you look like when you would play? And I was just like, yeah, I would do those same type of things, guys. And then I've got one son who's a lot like me who, is personality-wise just kind of a wise, like I am. And he's looked at me, he's like, Dad, no way. And I was like, nah, fellas, like there's no way that I ever ran remotely close to, I ran a 6'2", 40. as a sophomore in high school. So like I was as slow as a human could get.
But you might have been the fastest kid in Connecticut, though, right?
Not saying much. And no, that answer is no, but even then I'm not saying much. Yeah.
Definitely at your prep school, though. Definitely the fastest kid in maybe the history of your prep school.
I didn't go to prep school. I was a public schooler. I was a normal public
Don't offend
schooler.
him, Giannis.
Are you still in Connecticut now?
Yeah, we moved to Connecticut about 2 years ago. We had right kind of near the end of my career. We moved to Philly. My wife is from there. I love Philadelphia. Probably why I'm a little bit emotionally attached to Carson Wentz. And then with ESPN and whatnot, we moved up to Westport, Connecticut about 2 years ago.
Oh, I love Westport. You're a Connecticut kid. Who loves Connecticut more, you or Martha Stewart?
Ooh. Me and Martha should get together and do like a social episode or social video sometime. You know?
Oh my God. Hey, this week we saw that Rob Gronkowski claims he doesn't watch game film. Do you believe that?
Yeah. Absolutely not. Gronk played for probably the most detail-oriented sports organization ever with one of the most detailed coaches ever. Do I think Rob studies tape like, these intricate quarterbacks or defensive players? No. But Rob definitely watches tape and knows how he's going to be matched up against. Maybe not as much nowadays that he used to, but I don't believe that.
Do you think Arians would be that lax? Because there's no way he got away with that in New England.
Yeah, I will say this. The NFL is often there's a lot of things that go into, respect and how you work and all that stuff. How you go play on Sundays is the biggest deal in the NFL. And so I will say, if you go and perform, you go and perform. And a lot of coaches won't mess with whatever you're doing as long as you're going to do your job. I don't think Tom would have allowed it. That's my thing. Now, I don't think Tom would have, it's just Tom doesn't come as I would imagine in his circle, specifically in the football circle, it was guys who did everything they could to play well. And so I don't think Tom would have any part of that.
Hey, Giannis.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a fun game that we've come up with for Dan, and I would love you to explain the rules to him and see how he can do. And why don't you ask the first question? This is going to be pretty good.
I know.
Well, why don't you? Because I can't find it.
Okay. Dan, we came up with a pretty fun game for you this week. It is called Name That Dan, and we're going to read you a description of a Dan in the NFL and see if you can name who it is. There are a lot of Dans in the NFL. Did you know that?
Okay. I know now, so I should be good at this.
The first one. This Dan retired as one of the all-time great NFL quarterbacks, but is also remembered for his role in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Dan Marino.
You got it. That was too easy. Okay, here's a good
Great
one.
Movie.
I love this Dan coming up. This Dan played his entire career for the same team, became the first player in league history to throw for 4,000 yards in 3 consecutive seasons. Name that Dan.
Ooh, the same team his whole career. So Dan. This is a tough one. I don't know. Who is it?
I'll give you a hint on the team.
I thought it was Dan Aykroyd.
Chargers.
Oh, Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
Idiot.
You got it.
This Dan was a former teammate of yours and isn't afraid to bite an opponent's kneecap. Got it quick. Wow.
He's the best, dude. That guy's the best.
This Dan, 6-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle, was not only born in Canton, Ohio, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He also spent 12 seasons on Monday Night Football.
I might say his name incorrectly.
No, you won't.
Is it Dan Deerdorf?
Yep, and you said it correctly.
Yes.
Boom. It makes me feel good.
You could have pronounced it Deerdorf.
Deerdorf.
Yeah, it's the only other way is German. Yeah. All right. This Dan was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks in the first round of the 1991 draft and is the brother to one of the most prolific home run hitters of all time.
Dan McGuire.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, that's really good. Well, Dan Orlovsky, thank you so much for your time. It was so much fun picking your brain.
It was a good time. I appreciate you guys. A lot of fun.
We'll see you on the TV. And oh, God, no. Yeah, I have my in-laws watching my dog right now. I feel like he's right here in the room. That's creepy.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dan. Have a great week.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Be well.